23/22/2003 को शाम को चंद दहशतगर्द आ गए, आर्मी वर्दी लगा के पहले इनका लूटपाट किया और बाद में उनको मारा पीटा घसीटा, फिर उनको गोलियों से भून दिया। और इस केस को ओपन अगर करते जल्दी से जल्दी और कसूरवारों को सजा मिल जाती, वो हमारे लिए बहुत अच्छा होता।
Namaste and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand, ladies and gentlemen. And on this Friday, or on this edition of The Right Stand, one has to say that the Jammu and Kashmir government, the administration, indeed has taken the right stand to re-examine those cases that were shut, those cases that were just brushed under the carpet, just to try and cover up, perhaps and mask, an attempt at ethnic cleansing and genocide in Jammu and Kashmir. For all those who say nothing happened, for whom Nadimarg Massacre is not even a memory because they don't even remember, now they will be made to account for and accept that indeed out of the 50-odd Kashmiri Pandits in this small little town in the Pulwama district on the 23rd of March 2003, it was horrific, it was a nightmare as 24 of them were massacred, killed in cold blood by these pan-Islamists, members of the Lashkar-e-Taiba. And imagine what would have happened had it been a continuation of a pre-abrogation era, where in 2011 a criminal revision petition was just dumped, not even allowed. And one of the terrorists this time around was trying to argue that the court does not have the powers or the jurisdiction to go back and revisit its own judgment or its own calls. The Jammu and Kashmir High Court reopening the Nadimarg Massacre case, ladies and gentlemen, and the next hearing will be on the 15th of September. But tonight, here on The Right Stand, not only do we want to come out and say that the Jammu and Kashmir administration has indeed taken the right stand, but it is for the rest of India, to wake up to this reality. And for all those who scoffed at the Kashmir files and this entire aspect of the Kashmir Hindu genocide, this should be a stark reminder. This should be a stark reminder that this was not the 70s, 80s or the 90s. It was after the turn of the millennia, in the 21st century, that this massacre was conducted, and there was an effort, a brazen effort to cover it up. So much so that there are claims that are made that some of the eyewitnesses, some of the perpetrators were actually neutralized before they sang like a canary, just to hamper the prosecution and leave no trail behind. 24th of March 2003, the Nadimarg Massacre, Shopian. 24 Kashmiri Pandits gunned down by terrorists in army fatigues. They were wearing army fatigues. There was a narrative at that time to push to say that it was the soldiers, it was the Indian army that actually killed these people. And then that lie was busted. 10th of April 2003, Zia Mustafa, Lashkar commander, was arrested. April 2003, 3 other terrorists were named in the FIR. They were actually killed by the BSF in an encounter. On the 1st of October 2003, charges framed against Zia and 7 cops who failed to guard the village. This is the entire case history. Nadimarg Massacre, this entire period of justice muzzled, ladies and gentlemen, because in 2009, a trial court blocked the hearing of witnesses to the level to which the courts denied the prosecution even cross-examination. Of the 38 witnesses listed by the prosecution, only 9 were allowed to be examined. The court citing delay in hearing. In February 2009, there was an appeal in the High Court that was dismissed, saying delay cannot be condoned. Delay. 2015, Supreme Court asked the Jammu and Kashmir High Court to reopen the matter. But in October 17, 2021, so in 2015, the Supreme Court told the Jammu and Kashmir High Court to open the matter. It took the abrogation of Article 370 and 1.5 years thereafter, that in 2021 October, the alleged mastermind Zia Mustafa was killed during an operation. The hope for justice yet, because on the 25th of August 2022, The Jammu and Kashmir High Court has ordered reopening of the Nadimarg Massacre cases. Bhushan Lalji, one of the witnesses, one of the survivors, has come out. He's spoken from Jammu, where they say they all fled to seek refuge in Jammu. Have the genocide deniers been blunted? That's the straight question that we ask on the Nadimarg Massacre. Joining us this evening, Vivek Agnihotri, film director, Amit Malviya, spokesperson of the BJP and also IT cell head, who said that this is also, there is a civilizational aspect to it, and Amit Raina, spokesperson, roots in Kashmir and Kashmiri activist. Namaste, gentlemen. We have not made it a debate, we have not made it a firefight and a tu-tu-mai-mai, because the facts of the case themselves have not been highlighted. Vivek Agnihotri ji, did the Nadimarg massacre form a part of your Kashmir files among the very pages that you turned in terms of research?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Anand, for holding this discussion. It's very, very important. And if you know the climax of the Kashmir files, we showed Nadimarg Massacre. Actually, you know, we diluted the whole thing because it's so barbaric and it's so gruesome, inhuman. It's impossible for any sensible person, anybody with any kind of emotion or empathy to even be able to picturize it. We couldn't. When we did it, there were like 400-500 people. Everybody was stunned. You know, these people came dressed as army. They went to the police station. They said, we are Indian army and we have to protect Kashmiri Pandits. And therefore you leave this, and they took all their arms and ammunition. And then they killed 24 people one by one. And there was a little child also, I think,
2-year-old.
2-year-old child. And then they, about 800 meters they went ahead and they heard the child crying. And they came back all the way and then they shot the child. Who would do something like this? But the problem is, this is a human tragedy. Okay, anybody, 6 were killed, 6 were also killed by these terrorists. Every tragedy, any nation which fails to document, catalog, and remember these tragedies has no right, has absolutely no right to call itself secular or democratic or liberal or anything. And which is why I fought with the world and showed this. But then you know what happened as an aftermath. Then Arvind Kejriwal called it a jhuti kahani. For him, Nadimarg massacre never happened. Rahul Gandhi, on his instruction, all Congress party members, senior members, some of the senior most members called it propaganda. Some my friends in Bollywood, they said this film must not go to Oscar. Now, what is their compulsion that they deny that it happened? Genocide deniers, I understand. They don't want the world to know about it. What is their interest? I'm failing to understand. There are people from roots of Kashmir. Amit ji is there, you are there. Even I want to understand what is their compulsion. Are they agents of terrorists? Why do they want to stop the world to know the tragedy and the killing of our own brothers and sisters? Or under the garb of secularism, they have decided that not even one person from the minority community, nothing should happen to them. Even if we have to sacrifice all Hindus, it's fine. And I'm saying it very bluntly, very, very, because I'm researching right now on Mopla, Genocide and Direct Action Day. I'm not being able to sleep. I think by the end of it, I may go insane. Not because these genocides took place, that anyways very barbaric, but why, as an aware citizen of India, even a person like me, who takes pride in believing that I'm so socio-politically aware, even a person like me doesn't know the kind of inhuman barbaric things which were taken in the name of religion, even in Mopla 100 years ago, Direct Action Day, and same thing has happened in Kashmir. So why they don't want the world to know? Please enlighten me.
No, and before I go across to Amit Raina to take this forward, and then also Amit Malviya, it's just the three of you gentlemen, so we'll just talk about it in detail. See, there are many who are watching the broadcast, and they are saying March 23rd, 2003, March 2000, you had Sikhs in Hola Mohalla who were again gunned down. 35 Sikhs were massacred. And once again, that was the first time that these people did this. The terrorists started dressing up as the Indian army personnel, coming up in army fatigues and killing people. And this is again Chhattis Singhpura, the massacre which happened, and they're saying, how can we forget that? So at all points in time, these massacres are not part of social consciousness. This is not taught in textbooks. It's just brushed under the carpet, Amit Raina. Why is it that we do not know what has been perpetrated on us?
See, we for 30 years have been telling this nation that you need to understand that there is a civilizational onslaught that is happening on this nation. And that is a jihad that is being waged against this nation. Now, today, Sar Tan Se Juda has become a norm. It has become now norm in India, which was norm in Kashmir in 1990.
And this is not the only massacre which has gone unpunished. Every massacre in Kashmir has gone unpunished, whether it was the Doda massacre, whether it was Chhattis Singhpura, whether it was Vandhama, or whether it was Sangrampura and Nadimarg. It is thanks to this government, at least after the application of Article 370, that they went and pursued with the legal authorities and got the case reopened. Otherwise, this case was as good as closed. So that is definitely the first benefit that has happened out of application of Article 370. Otherwise, every establishment in Jammu and Kashmir was interested in getting cases closed, which were against on crimes that were committed against Kashmiri Hindus. So that is why you do not have a single conviction in last 32 years on any killing that has happened in Kashmiri Pandits. And you do not have any conviction will happen in this country also for killings that have happened in Udaipur and attacks that have happened in the rest of India, because there's a certain section which is now trying to copy what is happening in Kashmir and spread it to the rest of India. So it is a wake-up call for rest of India that they need to realize that what has happened in Kashmir in past 32 years is now getting spread to rest of India, and that is most worrying. So and people still call me. This morning, a gentleman from London sent me a message saying that, can you tell me Kashmir Files is true or not? So this is the level. So you have multiple reports. You have books written on Kashmir. We have TV debates. You regularly have been highlighting Kashmiri Hindu massacres in J&K, Hindu massacres in J&K, and still people. This afternoon, I got a message from London from a gentleman saying that I saw Kashmir Files. Can you confirm it is true or not? So that's the level of awareness, and we unfortunately have not woken up from the slumber as a community. When I say community, as Indians, as Hindus, we have not woken from slumber, and we will, by the time we'll wake up, it will be too late because it will be at our door. It is already at our door. We already have seen Razakars controlling Hyderabad again. Who could believe that you could have Sar Tan Se Juda happening in heart of this India at Hyderabad? So if we do not, and I've been saying this for last 30 years, if you do not ensure quicker delivery of justice on killings of minorities across country, especially in Jammu and Kashmir, you are condoning the crimes. You are in fact promoting. You are in fact somewhere giving hope to the people who commit these crimes that this country's legal system, this country's government, this country's executive is not willing to prosecute you and make you pay for the crimes you have committed. So welcome decision from Jammu and Kashmir High Court, especially in 2011 when it was dismissed by a judge who has a political affiliation. I think today's judgment is quite welcome, and I hope the country wakes up and ensures that there's a justice delivered to people in Jammu and Kashmir.
It's not about the country not waking up. One is the denial, that you're not ready to believe that something like this has happened and you didn't even know about it. That's one aspect. That's disbelief. The other part is that the counter narrative has been so long and so far pushed so strongly that you are unwilling to believe that this is actually the truth and what you were thinking all this while was actually false. So that's the other part, where somebody is unable to get out of that inertia and say, listen, I have to unlearn what I have learned because this is the truth. Amit Malviya, please come in, and then I'll go back to Vivek Agnihotri. Amit Malviya, you said that this is a civilizational battle. Yes, it is. But why are we waking up and realizing this now, when Sar Tan Se Juda has left Srinagar and now gone down to Bhagyanagari?
Look, Anand, this is a very deep-rooted problem, and we as a country must not forget that India was partitioned purely on religious lines because a certain community believed that they could not live in a Hindu majority country. Yet, the polity of that time chose to undermine the reasons why we were partitioned, and our politics went into a direction that made us pacifists as a country. We are talking about Kashmir here, but do you know West Bengal, for instance, does not celebrate its formation day? Why? Because West Bengal was formed purely or carved out of what is now Bangladesh to protect the Hindu Bengali community.
Yeah.
And the politicians there, the Congress, then the Communists, and now the TMC, refuses to acknowledge the very reason why West Bengal was formed or carved out, because it doesn't suit their politics. It's the same case with Kashmir. For a very long time, we were not even willing to acknowledge the problem in Kashmir. And let me say this unequivocally on your program, that this was about establishing Nizam-e-Mustafa in the valley. It wasn't about Azadi, it wasn't about autonomy, it wasn't about self-rule, because the Indian government was in fact treating Kashmir with kid gloves. But it was eventually about imposing an Islamist doctrine, a regime that would run on Islamic principles, and that is why this genocide was perpetrated. Now, the Kashmir Valley has seen several such genocides, but this is the most recent and the most horrific one. Particularly, it happened in a democratic republic where politicians sitting in Delhi soar by principles of secularism and so on and so forth. Yet they chose to look the other way because the aggressors were from the Muslim community, and those at the receiving end were the Hindus, who are minority in the valley. Now, if you look at the history of Valley and why I call it a civilizational battle, Kashmir in many ways has nurtured the Indic thought. Whether it is the Shaivite movement or, there have been intellectual movements that have emanated from there. The knowledge stream has emerged from Kashmir, and so it has a very prominent space in the entire Indic narrative, so to say. And there was an attempt to deny all of it. There was an attempt to perhaps even obliterate all of it. And it was done systematically because people did not find it convenient to raise issues that were important. And what we see today in terms of these barbaric slogans and killing in the name of religion that is sort of sweeping the country right now is going to take us in a similar direction if we do not act now. Imposing burqa on unsuspecting young girls. I've seen that happen in Valley. Girls as young as 4-5 years wear burqa. It's really not about choice. But that is the debate that you see in Karnataka today. And clearly these are young brainwashed girls who are falling prey to the religious doctrine that is being sought to be established in at least pockets of this country. And they are very ably supported by those who believe in a communist worldview, which somehow seems to use the Islamists as cannon fodder in their fight against dismembering India. And this is what happened in 1947 when the communists used the Muslim community as their foot soldiers to dismember India, create Pakistan and what is now Bangladesh. It continued after that, the 71 war in Bangladesh, the genocide that started in Kashmir Valley, and the radicalization that we are seeing in states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, parts of Karnataka. And one last point, Anand here. This entire idea of blasphemy is alien to India. And let me forewarn the people the pitfalls of where we could land up. Today in Pakistan, Muslims are using the blasphemy law against the Muslims to settle personal scores. It has become the most notorious law or statute in their books because nobody can oppose it. The judge would not opine the other way. The facts are always convoluted to make it look like blasphemy, and it has acquired a monstrous proposition. We can't allow that to happen in a plural, secular, democratic India. And it requires not just the non-Muslim community to wake up to the menace, but also the Muslim community, because they'll be the first ones to be targeted. their women will be the first one to be targeted, their young kids will be radicalized and used as cannon fodder in the name of jihad or religion or whatever you will, and they will end up falling behind the rest of the society on educational parameters, on social indices, on general acceptability in the society, and you will end up creating a ghetto which will be completely unsustainable.
So, but what are you going to do about it? That's the larger question, because this has been allowed to perpetrate. The other aspect is that, is it inconvenient for the human rights activists to talk about Hindu killings? Vivek Agnihotri ji, why is this that this massacre is not talked about? Why is this that this is not headlined?
See, mostly people try to be politically correct, but let me tell you something very bluntly, and I'm saying it on the basis of facts and evidences. What has happened is, since the discovery of oil in the Middle East and with the coming money, and after 9/11, what happened was that Middle East, especially these oil-rich countries, they pumped in lots and millions and billions of dollars in image correction. And therefore they lobbied and they have funded right from New York Times. I was there. Qatar had given $50 million to New York Times. And so they have politicians in US, UK, media, everywhere. And they coined Islamophobia as a political weapon to shut up people. Now, because of that, what has happened, because these wokes and the seculars of India follow the Western model, they are compelled, and I'm sure lots of people are on the payrolls and they have been paid lobbying monies. But otherwise, why? Give me one reason. Why would anybody deny that?
Right.
It's impossible. Why would a filmmaker, a director would say that Kashmir files specifically must not be shown to the world, because if it goes to Oscars, then the whole world sees it? Why? There must be a compelling reason. So that is one aspect of it. The lobbying and the money of Gulf is stopping people from let this truth come out. Second thing I want to tell you, what is the problem with this country? I think India, please, if I'm saying anything which is politically wrong or which is going to hurt people, please stop me, because I don't know what is correct and what is incorrect to speak on it. The biggest problem is Khilafat movement. With Khilafat, the movement, Gandhi ji gave approval to Khilafat movement. Mopla massacre, the genocide happened, where they cut the heads of Hindus who were not ready to convert and threw them in the well. Because of that, direct action they took place. The Calcutta killings took place. And now what we are seeing is, and how I realized Khilafat 2.0, when Delhi Shaheen Bagh was happening at that time, in Aligarh Muslim University's walls, it was written Khilafat 2.0, Khilafat 2.0. In fact, they also held a symposium which was called Khilafat 2.0. Now the problem is, as long as our constitution acknowledges people on the basis of majority and minority, I don't think we can ever solve this problem. The thing is, we are all Indians and they are not minority. And when we are doing this research, Anand, Amit ji, aapko bhi bata raha hu, when we are doing this research, it's on paper in front of me right now here. Statistically, whenever they come to close to 35 to 45% in any territory, genocide happens. In Mopla, the regions where it happened, the exact regions where it happened, it had Muslim majority at that time. In fact, in some places, they were 75%. But wherever they were above 35%, genocide happened. Same thing happened in Direct Action Day, where in the pockets of Calcutta and West Bengal, wherever they were more than 30-35%, in all those places genocide happened. Same thing happened in Kashmir. And also, if you see, don't go by cities, see the localities. In whichever locality there is a minority majority, I mean the Muslim majority, or if their numbers are equal or more or less equal, you will find that on Friday there will be riots, or there will be some kind of a religious conflict or communal conflict will take place. And this is very alarming. And very beautifully he said this country is slowly, very slowly, but definitely is trying to suppress the Hindu civilization. What is this country? This country is founded by who? America also keeps saying founding fathers every time. What are the fundamental values and what are the fundamental culture and thinking and philosophy of this country? It's not Islamic.
Yeah.
It is Hindu, and not Hindu in terms of religion, but in philosophically
Philosophy.
speaking, ideologically speaking.
Yeah.
The problem is that we are surrounded by Islamic countries on one side, we are surrounded by communist countries on one side, and these people have created a nexus, and they are trying to break Hindu society. If you don't believe me, ask anybody how this Islamic Dalit nexus they are trying to, the corridor they are trying to create.
Yeah.
And these are very serious questions. Somebody has to address, after 75 years of independence, how long we are going to call a 18-20 crore community of 18-20 crore people as minority.
They are the second largest majority.
A fully able, competent boy, grown-up boy, but the parents still keep calling him that he's weak and he's weak. I think the only solution to stop tension or conflict in this country, to stop civilizational decay of Bharat, I think first thing we have to do is stop this majority and minority.
No, correct. And see,
wait, 5 seconds. I think 2 terms. Anybody in this country, in Bharat, in this Republic of India, anybody who says kafir or sartan se juda or blasphemy, these 3 things anybody talks about should be declared a terrorist, and for life he should be put inside the prison. Maybe I am over.
No, you're not the first person to make that demand. No, Vivekji, you're not the first person. There are many people who have said there should be a law that bans the use of the word kafir, use of the word idiom sartan se juda, and this entire aspect of khilafat, etc. But more importantly, these 2 words should be done away with. They should not be allowed. And blasphemy also, there is no logic of blasphemy in our country. That's what hurting somebody's religious sentiments is punishable by law, but that's different. But this blasphemy, hang this person, the legal version of behead this person is hang this person. That's what these people are saying. It's not. It's alien to our country. But you talked about Khilafat movement and Amit Raina. Khilafat is exactly 100 years ago. So this is around the time that 1920 when the Khilafat movement started picking up. I was reading the Vikram Sampat's commentary on Savarkar. There is in 1922, 1923 there is an argument that happens between Shaukat Ali and Veer Savarkar, and he says, call back this Khilafat and al-ulema. You give this up and I will give up Shuddhi. So it's more than 100 years old. This is going on. And Khilafat was what? Khilafat was establishing a caliphate in Turkey. What's happening in Turkey? What does that got to do with India? And India is getting massacred.
And don't forget, during Delhi riots, after Shaheen Bagh, Ankit and all these people who were killed, stabbed 50, this is all part of Khilafat. I have been screaming on your channel, every channel I have said, that in Kashmir, they have an agenda. They are saying we'll create 500 mini Kashmirs in India. What happened during Shaheen Bagh and aftermath of that was part of that. What is happening in Hyderabad today is part of that. All these burqa movements and hijab movements are part of that. It's very strategically done. But what we are doing, we are watching it and debating. We are not countering it with action.
Yes, Amit Raina.
You rightly said what we had to do with Khilafat. The fact is that for hundreds of years, we have been fed lies. We have been told that Mahatma Gandhi said he saw a ray of light in Kashmir when this country was in fire during 1947 because of partition. I don't know what ray of light he saw, that when entire Muzaffarabad, entire Pakistan occupied Jammu Kashmir was getting rid of Hindus and Sikhs. You had 40% population in Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Today it is 0. They killed thousands of Sikhs and Hindus. They raped thousands and Sikhs and Hindu women. They took and traded them as slave in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So I don't know what ray of light they saw, and that is the lies that has been perpetrated for 75 years, saying Jammu Kashmir में तो हिंदुओं के खिलाफ कुछ होता ही नहीं था. अरे हिंदू बचे ही नहीं वहाँ, तो होना क्या है उनके खिलाफ? You have ensured that Kashmiri Hindus in Jammu Kashmir and Pakistan occupied Jammu Kashmir are almost, you have multiple massacres. You have Pranakot, you have Chhatri Singhpura, you have Doda Massacre, single zero conviction. My expectation from this government again has been that while I welcome Jammu and Kashmir administration to continue, on this Nadimarg case and get this case reopened. There are multiple cases of killings in Kashmir. And if you want to convey a message that Sar Tantre Juda, killing of Indians, if you don't even want to say to appease a certain section of vote population, at least say killing of Hindus, killings of Indians is not acceptable anywhere. Killing of Indians, and you need to reopen the cases. Why do we need to keep on going to courts to get cases reopened? You should get up and get those cases reopened. You cannot go and sack an MLA for his views and then you have Andhra police today writing an FIR, a word called blasphemy. हमारे तो कानून में blasphemy नहीं है. I don't know under what section they have put that word called blasphemy, and he has committed blasphemy. Are we copying Pakistan today now and putting this FIR? Are we going to create Islamic Republic of Jammu and Kashmir, Islamic Republic of Hyderabad, Islamic Republic of Bhupna and Kerala and West Bengal is already halfway of what Kashmir is. So I think it is time you step in. You need to stop this distinction of minority. Please take away this minority affairs ministry first and foremost. Everyone in this country is equal, and you start treating every and any killing of anyone without any political opportunity being seen in that. You need to investigate and you need to prosecute those people and punish them.
Now this is if indeed the word blasphemy has been included in the FIR in Telangana, then that itself should be taken needs to be put under legal scrutiny and say how dare and who's put it out, because where is the law for that? But Amit Malviya, please respond.
Look, Anand, the problem here is that unless there is reform within Islam and within the Muslim community, this problem will continue. It's not as if it's just emerged from nowhere. It's been around since the 1930s. If you read Ambedkar, he has written very eloquently about the problems like pelting of stones on Ramanavami, Julus and Hanuman Jayanti is something that he wrote way back in 1930s.
Yes.
And it continues till date. So clearly it's not an issue that has emerged suddenly. It's an issue that is long-standing. It has to do with fundamental beliefs of the adherents of Islam and of course the teachings that they are imparted in madrasas and masjids. But what is really interesting here, Anand, is that the Middle East, for example, where Islam originated, do you see any of these radical elements thriving there? I haven't seen a single protest against any other foreign government or an issue that has happened anywhere else in the world, in the Middle East, for instance. The Crown Prince of the Middle East and the people responsible for the region are actually making efforts to liberalize Islam and the way it is interpreted in the Middle East, so that it becomes a more welcoming place and a more assimilating place.
Right.
But the problem, except for, of course, Pakistan and Bangladesh, where radicalization has gone to a completely different level, I don't see this happening in the Islamic world. It is happening in Europe though. It is happening in the United Kingdom, where people are driven by guilt and perhaps far too accommodating and willing to assimilate without realizing that you're dealing with a set of people whose beliefs do not allow them to do so.
Right.
But in India, if we have to make this a reality, the community has to come together, they have to reform from within, and they have to believe that they essentially come from Indian cultural ethos, which is different from, say, the rest of the world.
No, but along with that...
Amit, I'm sorry to say, just a minute. No. You do not have a single example in history in last 1400 years where this religion has been in peace with itself. If you're talking about certain countries in Middle East where you do not see all this nonsense because they do not give a long rope. Otherwise, there are countries in Middle East which have given long rope and are fighting amongst themselves. Countries which have managed this menace is because they do not give a long rope, they ensure quick and instant justice, and that is the only solution. You will have to create that fear of quick and instant justice, otherwise we will continue to fight this, and probably a few years down the line we will be wondering what happened to us.
Now, one aspect of reform...
Can I just finish the point that I was making?
Yes.
You know, I understand Amit Raina's angst, but I would strongly suggest that we do not sound so reactionary, because at the end of the day, if this problem has existed around for centuries, it's not going to disappear tomorrow. But there have been instances in the past. There was a time when Christianity was seen as this very dominating faith around the world, and there were similar issues that the community and the world was grappling with, and eventually it has come to a point where it is settled. Now, how soon do we get there, and whether we learn from examples of history is important. But as a country and as people who live in this geographical territory of India, something that drives the division further is completely unacceptable.
No, but
we cannot afford another partition in the name of religion or creation of ghettos in the name of religion.
But Amit Malviya, that is exactly what it is building up to. If you were to see, all of Seemanchal has been carved out. Jumma holidays have already started being decided. Nearly 2,000 square kilometers of land acreage has been already occupied by illegals who have come from Bangladesh and from the Rakhine state. The same thing is happening in Assam. All across the Indo-Nepal border is already illegally occupied, and they've already enforced themselves, and they're saying it is our rate that will run. And governments, state governments don't have the gumption to change it. So what you're talking about is already being worked out. What they are trying to underline is that yes, you want reform in society and people to understand what the Indian ethos is. But you also need laws which will point them in the right direction and tell them, learn this, otherwise you are going to be dealt with the hard hand of the law. That also has to come into place.
Anand, I must just step in here. The states where you have a problem are the ones where the people of the state have elected governments which have been thriving on appeasement. You don't see similar things happening in, say, Uttar Pradesh. Did you see stone-pelting instance anywhere in Uttar Pradesh?
700 kilometers of the border with Nepal lies in Uttar Pradesh, and even there, Bahraich and all of these areas are all infested with illegals, and it's a hub for radicalization, it's a hub for drugs, it's a hub for arms, it's a hub for mafia. You have not cleared that land. It's all on no man's land. It's not supposed to be occupied, but they are squatting there and they are entering the country. So it's endemic. It's not restricted to one political party. See, for the large part of Bihar, with Nitish Kumar, BJP has been in power. So I'm not going to get into individual political parties. I'm just saying that the hard hand of the law has to come into place.
How much of that infiltration has happened in the last few years when you've had governments which do not shy away from implementing
it has happened.
law?
The numbers show that when there have been appeasement-oriented governments, the numbers have gone up, but the numbers have not drastically come down in non-appeasement government, and they have not gone back. They are here and they have naturalized. Now they are going to change the habitat based on their naturalization, and then in each of these pockets there are exoduses happening, sir. On a daily basis, Hindus are being forced out. From Bengal, from Bihar, from various districts in Uttar Pradesh. It is happening. In Kerala, North Kerala, clearly if you have a Gaza street there, sir, you know the situation, what is happening there in Malappuram. So it's not, let's wake up to that reality, what I'm trying to say.
I am not closing myself to the realities that you put out. That is the truth.
Correct.
And that is why the awareness is important. Unless you have awareness, the society will not come together to take on this challenge. In earlier regimes, under secular garb, people were normalizing these things. It's not happening anymore. And that is the big shift that has happened in the last 8 years. And we have to recognize that.
Right. Not just recognize, but there has to be law which will guide them in the right direction, which will not allow them to play and have a field day with the rule of law, saying, Chit mein jeeta pat tumhare. That cannot be done. Nadimarg perhaps is a good beginning, but there will be lots more that needs to be done. Wonderful speaking with you, gentlemen. Thank you very, very much. Very, very engaging conversation, enlightening conversation. Always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you very much. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, big development, insight on the Bihar CBI scam of the land for jobs scam, and of course, what's happening within the Congress party. Azad breaks free. Stay with us.